ViBo Health, we're a consumer-facing medical device company. I'm Mike Corrigan. I'm an advisor to the company. Our founder, Dr. Gail Travish, is today on a Greek island, although he assures me that he would much rather be here. The problem we're trying to solve is one that's being caused by a good thing, which is the empowerment of the consumer through developments in technology. And almost all of us in this room, I'd venture, are wearing some kind of device that informs us about various things, including aspects of our medical condition. And the more that consumers are educated about their medical condition, it seems like the more interest they are taking in it. And the personalization of medicine through the development of technology is a mega trend that we seek to play into. The problem today is that my Fitbit, not to pick on Fitbit, but it gives me a very limited number of attributes that can be measured and reported to me. If I want a full readout of my metabolic attributes, I need to go to an invasive blood panel that's timely and, or rather not timely, and costly and invasive. Our solution is this desktop-mounted device where the user will insert a limb, a hand, and our goal is that in 10 seconds or less, we will be able to measure 10 to 20 key metabolic attributes. For example, glucose. Many of you, I think, will be aware that pre-diabetic conditions are rampant in this country, and the average consumer doesn't know that they're in that danger zone. If you get a glucose measurement in under 10 seconds from our device, that can only be a good thing. The market is huge. No matter which way we cut at it, it is an enormous market, and it's growing with particularly the advent of more and more functionality in the wearable universe. I mentioned particularly here fitness and nutrition only to let you know that from a market entry strategy, our first markets are going to be gyms, wellness centers, spas, etc. Big market. Technology stack that we're building upon is in large measure extant today. It's magnetic resonance spectroscopy, which is typically found in large, expensive machines in hospital and clinical environments. Our technology challenge / risk / opportunity is effectively to miniaturize that technology effectively onto a desktop device that would sit comfortably on this rostrum. Competition, we're not aware of anybody who's striving to do exactly what we're doing. The fact is that the functionality of wearables is increasing every day, and we think that's complementary to what we're doing, not competitive, because it will excite yet further consumer interest in what we are able to provide them in tandem with the Apple Watch, Fitbit, whatever other devices that the consumer uses. Forget the numbers for a second. The key point on this slide is that there are multiple revenue streams. We'll make money from selling the hardware, the device itself. Most of our revenue streams, we feel at this point, are actually going to come from subscriptions from the consumer, which his insurance carrier or her insurance carrier may well reimburse, in that all of these folks are motivated to cost save through preventive medicine. And at a certain point when we achieve scale, way down the road here, there's probably a fairly significant data mining opportunity as well that can be monetized. We've got a deep team. Dr. Gil Travish has previous form in this space. He is one of the co-founders of a UK-based company called Adaptix, which is a radiology enterprise focused on dentistry. We have strong clinical and scientific support, and then we have me. Traction so far, obvious plug for Wilson Sonsini. We have letters of intent with potential customers. I mentioned World Gym particularly because, as I previously said, the gym environment we think is low-hanging fruit for the first deployment of the product. We've got some IP protection with more to come. We're looking for 1.6 million. The key use of funds from which is to build and deliver the first prototype, which is a key inflection point in our trajectory.
All right, I'm going to cut you off here and
that's fine.
To questions.
I was done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for the presentation. Can you share with us specific accuracy numbers, confidence intervals, for specific numbers for accuracy, for vitals, other decomposition?
No is the short answer. Our work to date suggests that we will be able to deliver results over time, because at a particular moment of measurement, that one day, for whatever reason, the consumer is moving his or her hand or whatever, but on a longitudinal basis, we think we'll be able to deliver the same degree of accuracy that you get from a blood panel that's lab tested today.
So why do you believe that? Nobody has actually figured out how to do continuous glucose monitoring or any non-invasive glucose monitoring without the use of blood. So how are you doing it, and why do you believe you can?
Because the scientists who are the founders of this company believe it, and they have substantial grounds for that belief. You're asking me as a non-scientist, my faith is in them.
I'm asking you as a representative of this company who's claiming to be able to measure glucose without blood.
Well, we're confident we can do it.
Is their work academically published and in peer
Yes, there's
review?
substantial body of academic opinion on this, including some of which is being generated by our advisory board.
Is the solution relying on off-the-shelf sensors, or you need custom design?
I'm sorry, what
you
kind of
need
sensors?
sensor technologies.
It's magnetic resonance, so it's dependent upon our ability to reduce the size of the magnets in a way that still delivers the kind of performance that's been referenced here a moment ago. And as I said, when I was walking through the slides, that is the technology risk in what we're doing, that we can miniaturize and do so cost effectively.
What are the other vitals you're measuring other than glucose?
We have about 25 to 30 attributes, metabolic attributes, that we've identified on the basis that they're the ones that are most excitable through the magnetization and from which the signal can be read. We haven't isolated on and it'll be a smaller number than 25 to 30, it'll be 10 to 20. We haven't isolated on the specific ones that we will run with, but you can count on creatine, glucose, LDL, HDL, and there will be others.
So you're trying to play in a different area from, as you said, Fitbit and the likes. And I didn't see on the slide about milestones, whether you're looking at getting clinical approval so that people can actually use this and say, this is what's wrong.
Yeah, good question. The overriding goal for us is to avoid diagnosis, because that takes us into a different level of FDA approvals, as you well know. And it's also not coincidentally one of the reasons that we've identified wellness and fitness as an early market entry, because the FDA hurdle that we'll have to meet at that point is simply one of making sure that the device is safe, meaning safe to use. I do think that as the product matures and we get more and more sophistication in what the product can measure and monitor, that we will eventually have to go through the varying degrees of FDA approval, no question.
On your bullet point here for the IP-rich opportunity, the two licensed, is that you licensing patent to others, or are you licensing from others?
From UCLA.
Okay. Do you need to, is the MRI technology protected? Do you have to license that as well?
It's MRS, which is a sister
MRS.
technology to MRI. We have one of the licenses from UCLA covers that, and we have our own sort of business system patents pending that's around that technology, with more to come.
Is your licensing agreement with exclusivity, or somebody else can license?
That's a really good question. It's exclusive for a field of use that's pretty narrowly defined, which I think in commercial terms means it's not completely exclusive, but it would only be valuable to someone who's seeking to do what we're doing.
Any other questions from the board? I may have missed this on a slide earlier, but what's your timeline for, like, is there a working prototype now, or you're still working on the miniaturization?
No, use of proceeds is to bring that into life. Depending on any number of variables, 12 to 18 months. My experience in device and technology development says be closer to 18 than 12.
And once it's developed, will this just work on ordinary household power? I mean,
yeah, it'll work on standard plug-in to any kind of outlet adapter. And you say household, our initial cut at the physical facilities in which this will sit will be commercial. Gyms, pharmacies, other retail environments and the like.
Is that because of the cost of the hardware?
Based upon our understanding as of today, on a very, what I would say, conceptual level, bill of materials, $10,000. Going up every day as rare earth materials are going up in cost.
Are there any other safety or sort of health concerns with it operating, like special shielding for the magnetics or putting it in a public environment like that?
Short answer, no. Longer answer is we're thinking about hygiene in that connection. I mean, if you go to a Higgy machine in a CVS today to take your blood pressure, as many of us do, there's no particular protection needed. Our device, because you're inserting a limb into a sealed or contained environment, we may have some kind of disposable sleeve. That will be fleshed out, I hope, as part of the prototype work.
Sorry if this was already covered while I was distracted. Have you figured out what the initial price point is going to be?
Our cost or our price point?
Price point for the consumer?
Good question. The consumer will pay for this product through subscription, which will give them the access to the app where all their data will be graphed and mapped and all of that. And I think that financial model you saw briefly was $10 a month. The sales from the hardware device are to a different customer. That customer is the CVS in the case of the pharmacy.
So this won't sit in the consumer's home.
Pardon me?
This will not sit in the consumer's home.
The app will, the device itself will not. The device itself will be the size of a pretty big personal computer.
Okay, so they're going to have to physically, I didn't catch that. So they have to physically travel to a destination that has one of these on a regular basis?
If they want to use the device, yes. Now, I mean, they do that today with blood pressure machines at CVS.
But it's free.
Yeah, it's free, but they don't get the reporting, and they don't get the comprehensive readout. And aspirationally, I see this, and particularly for larger employers, I see this as a benefit the employer will provide to its workforce by having a wellness device sitting right there in the corporate location.
Does the hardware have any part or component that needs to be replaced periodically?
That's another good question. I don't know, because we haven't really fleshed out the definitive bill of materials. That's what the prototyping work will do. But my guess is that just the frequency of use of the insertion of the limb will probably cause some wear and tear, yeah.
All right, it looks like we're out of questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.